Hey book friends, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to 2025 and my first TBR video of the year. So this is my January TBR where I play my TBR game, TBR University, which I developed last year and I really enjoy. I will link the initial video above if you want to go check out the rules, but it's a very simple, straightforward game. And so let's just hop into how December went and then pick my January TBR. So hi, my name is Angie. Welcome to the channel. Welcome back, all the things. So before we pick January's TBR and play the game, I do want to quickly talk about December and how it went. December was one of the few months that I was able to read my TBR. I'm so proud of myself. I'm so proud of myself. And so let's go through some of the books. So I had 4 books on my December TBR. The first book I read was Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden. Oh my gosh, you guys, this book, I loved it. I finished it like the day before I filmed my best books of 2024 and I almost put it on there, but I was like, I don't want like a recency bias to play into it, but there's just something about her writing. And in this case, her depiction of World War I in a very real way, in a kind of scary, horror, fantastical, but very real to life. There was no romanticizing of the war. It felt very real. It felt very terrible. It's so well written and I just loved it. And so I read that one. I also read this one. Oh my gosh, I was full of lots of good books. I read this for my reading challenge, which you guys, I'll link above the announcement video for 2025. Come join us. But we read the 4th book in the Thursday Murder Club, The Last Devil to Die. Easy 5 stars. I loved it. I also read this book. This came out of nowhere for me. Okay, so this is House of Beating Wings by Olivia Wildenstein. Now, I think this was a library book pick because last month my class chosen for me was a hard professor fantasy class. And this was what I chose because I needed a library book and it just looked pretty when I was at the library and I really didn't know what it was. It's romantasy. I enjoyed this more than I thought I would. It's like a fae romance, but there's also like these crows. The whole series is called The Kingdom of Crows. And it's like crow shifters, which I haven't read a shifter book since like Twilight. And I've always been like, I don't like those kinds of books, but I actually really liked this book. I don't know. I'm not sure where the series is going to go, but I'm going to continue it. I'm going to continue reading this series. It was fun. I mean, it wasn't perfect and it definitely wasn't 5-star, but for what I was expecting it to be, it was much better than that. And then I read a Christmas romance, which I'll pop up here because I already had to return it to the library, and it was The Christmas You Found Me by, I can't remember the author, but I loved this for the first half and then I didn't. I think it has to do with the fact that it was very emotional. Like, it was a single dad, his child had kidney failure, and this woman who was recently divorced, and they get together to try and help out the girl. Loved that. Awesome. It just got a little too unrealistic, I guess. Unrealistic and like, no, this would not actually happen. And it kept drawing me out of the story. I couldn't sink into it. So that was December. You guys, that was fantastic. Now, let's move on to January, shall we? The first thing I always need to do is to pick the genre. So I'll get my phone off the tripod here and we will spin for which genre I'm going to pick for this game. Although I am playing Easy Professor mode, which I'm so proud of myself, Easy Professor mode, because I was able to complete my TBR from December. All right, you guys, I have my spinner here. I have the 5 categories of genres I tend to read. I chose my simple list for this, so let's just choose. Let's choose together. I started the spinner. I always get so nervous because this really sets up my month. Romance for January? I was not prepared for this. I did not get a bunch of romance books from the library. Oh, right, that's all right, that's all right. All right, roll number 1. 8. 8's a good number. 8. Extra credit. Extra credit for this game means that I don't pick a book. It's kind of like a free space. It's a free space where I don't have to pick anything. Oh man, January might turn out to be a really easy month. Let's see. Okay, so we'll move on then to roll number 2. 5. Okay, 5. We're not going as fast, but that's okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, hyped book. Hyped book. Let me go see what I can find. Okay, so I'm back. So I got hyped book for that second roll, and I'm going to pick this book. So this is Where the Library Hides by Isabel Ibanez. So this is the second book, and I'm not quite sure what the series is called, but the first book was What the River Knows. I read it last year. I read it as part of our reading challenge. It was a buddy read for January, and this is the buddy read for January this year. There were a number of us in that group that really enjoyed this book and were really curious about the conclusion because it definitely ended on a cliffhanger. And I believe this is just a duology. So this should complete the whole story arc. Inez is from a rich family where her parents were archaeologists until she heard of their untimely death. And then instead of like going about her life and getting married and doing all the things expected of her, she decided to travel solo across the ocean to Egypt. And she wanted to kind of ask her parents, like business partner, like what's happened, what's going on. And she gets swept into this whole storyline of all of these Egyptian artifacts, because we're talking, I think, 1800s. No, it's historical in nature, just kind of based on how she dresses and things that are happening. So I'm really excited to finish up this story and to read it with a bunch of you. As always, the Discord's linked below for the challenge. Okay, so that's book 1. Okay, so this is rule number 3, but book number 2. 4. All right. 1, 2, 3. You guys, I got another extra credit, which means I don't have to pick another book. I'm not going to have a TBR. I'm not going to have a TBR this round. But that's okay. Let's move back over and see what happens next. Okay, guys, roll for book 2. 5. Pop quiz. So pop quiz means that I have to pick 2. To pick 2 books and 2 prompts. First prompt is academic setting. Academic setting, okay. And then the second prompt is strong female protagonist. All right, I've had that one before. Okay, let me go see what I can find and I'll get back to you guys. That was harder than I expected. Okay, not this first one because I was already thinking of reading this book this month. And so strong female protagonist, I was already planning on trying out this series, which is Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. It's a romantasy series. I've heard at least this first book doesn't have like a ton of spice, and I tend to like kind of slow burn romances. From what it looks like this is about, it's about a girl who is like, for some reason I think she's enslaved in some way or like indentured in some way, and she's trying to pay for her freedom. Something goes wrong. Then she ends up on the run and she has to join this group of people, an organization of magic wielders called the Order. And she does that, and then she starts training with this guy who does not like the Order or something to that notion, and I think the romance is between them. And it goes from there. I'm honestly not sure. I put this on my TBR because I want to finish out my R Fantasy Bingo Challenge, and I needed a self-published book, and this one I already had on my shelves, and so I'm gonna try this out. I'm gonna try it, see what I think. Okay, so for this second book, or this second prompt, which was academic setting, I went back and forth and back and forth. I've considered reading Fourth Wing. I've considered it. I haven't yet. So many of you have told me not to. I feel like I will read that at some point when I'm in a specific mood. But academic setting, I'm gonna read this finally. I'm finally gonna read Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I feel like this is very dark academia fall setting, but I want to just read this book. And so it's okay if it's not during the fall. And I thought she was writing a third book in this series, so I thought it's probably a good time to start it. And so this is about Alex Stern. She is a student at Yale. She's in the freshman class. I know there's like a murder on campus. I know she's like trying to solve it. I can't remember if it's like a secret society that she's either a part of or investigating. So Ninth House. I'm picking Ninth House. Hopefully, fingers crossed, this last roll will be the last one. I can't believe I've hit almost every like special square on this board, but let's do roll number 5. All right, let's see what happens. Okay. Final. Okay, so we landed on the final square and I pulled up the spinner wheel for my final book selection, and I just realized as I was setting this up that I didn't land on any of the green squares. This was very much a romance course that I did not pick up any romance, except Daughter of No Worlds is very much a fantasy romance. But interesting. It's just very interesting because I was very worried about my romance selection, but obviously it didn't matter. But for the square, the final square, I always do a spinner wheel that involves some of my yearly plans. And I realize that for some of these, I haven't put out the video for 2025 yet. Like, I know my Buddy Reads series, seasonal TBRs, book of the month, only yearly TBR I haven't put out yet. So let's hope I don't land on it. If we do, we'll figure it out. But let's just Let's start. So we're spinning the wheel. See what happens. See what happens. Okay. Book of the month. Book of the month. Okay. So for book of the month, I have such an interesting collection of book of the month books. And I want to get to a lot of them. I almost picked The Kingdom of Sweets because it was on my winter TBR. It has to do with a nutcracker. And January is still kind of adjacent to Christmas, right? I still kind of want to read that, but this one, I've been really wanting to read this. And I thought, in honor of the fact that this is a romance month, I'm going to read Ready or Not. This is by Cara Bastone. I feel like this is going to be right up my alley. It's a book with a pregnancy trope, which I feel like can be good or bad, but I like that this is very much like the whole book is about this. It's about a surprise pregnancy, and then I think it's about like a friends to lovers slow burn romance. Yes, it says it right there. And I've learned that I like friends to lovers sort of contemporary books because I read Love Light Farms last week and I really liked it more than I expected. And I think it was just because of our main male character. But anyway, neither here nor there. I just think I might like this. And I love the cover. And it's very spring, even though it's January. But that's okay. I want to read it, so I'm going to put this on my TBR. So that's pretty fun. I feel like I love this game because it makes me like go walk over to my shelves and be like, what should I read? What should I read? So these are the ones picked by my game. And then I'll talk about the ones that I have to add to this TBR. But 4 books, again, 4 books for my official TBR University TBR. Ready or Not by Cara Bastone. Where the Library Hides by Isabel Ibanez, Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent, and Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. You guys, there's some just like popular books and books that I'm just really, really wanted to get to. So this is a really exciting TBR for me. Okay, let me see what else I might have. I have 2-ish more books to add to this stack. One is this one, which I'm really excited about. So this is Till Death Do Us Part by Lori Elizabeth Flynn. So this is the book that is selected for the January Sleep When I'm Dead book club that is run by Jessie from Reading with Jess. I will link her channel below. I am one of the co-hosts for this month and I'm really excited, you guys. I've off and on read her selections and I just really enjoy the book club. So I'm glad I get to participate in it. And I'll be reading this, which has to do with a woman who was previously married and they were on their honeymoon and he drowns, mysteriously drowns. And she is trying to get over him. That was 10 years ago. She's engaged again to some new guy and it has something to do with Napa Valley, I think, like wineries. But I think it sounds like she sees him, her old husband, her old dead husband, and it's kind of messing with her and it's messing with her relationship. So I think she's like on the hunt to figure out what's going on. I've never even heard of this author and I am on the lookout for some new thriller authors. So I'm definitely reading that. So that's going on my TBR. The one that is maybe on my TBR is this book. I've always been curious about this book. So this is Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. It's a sci-fi book that I hear is just told in a way that can be off-putting, but it can be really interesting. Oh, this is really pretty. It's about a people who are suffering under a empire, a royal family. I'm not sure where they live or if this is on like another planet or something like that. But I guess over the course of 5 days, there's like a group of people who have to band together and try and fight back, something to that notion. I think that's not right. But I've heard some really interesting things about his writing style and I'm tempted to read this book. And again, the reason this is on my potential TBR is because of the Our Fantasy Bingo square that was for disabled character, I believe. And I think one of our characters here is missing a limb. Or at least that's what I hear. And so that's why this was put on my list. Okay, so I'm going to tentatively put that on my TBR for January. So yeah, that's a pretty good stack. I'm really excited for these books. And so that was fun. That was fun. That was different. I feel like getting 2 extra credit, like free squares, and then a pop quiz, which automatically gives me 2 books, was just really interesting and strange. But I'm really excited. And I'm excited for my upcoming 2025 reading plans and just the year. I have so much anticipation for how my reading year is going to go since 2024 was so amazing. So let me know, you guys, what you're thinking for the new year. What's some of the books you want to read right away? Let me know down below. Let me know if you have read any of these books, because some of them are pretty common, popular. But if you have nothing you necessarily want to say, let's put some sort of like water emoji. some sort of water emoji down below just to let me know you were here. And otherwise, you guys, like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel if you want to, and I'll see you in the next book video. All right, guys, take care.